$400 million. I want you to really stop and visualize that amount of money. Imagine a pallet of cash stacked to the ceiling, soaking in gasoline, and set on fire. That is effectively what Sony did with the game Concord, a game that was in development for 8 years. 8 years of salaries, office rent, marketing budgets, and meetings. And what happened? It launched, nobody played it, and they deleted it from the servers in less than 2 weeks. If this was just one bad game, we could write it off. We could say, hey, sometimes you swing and you miss, but it is not just one game. Look at Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Look at Skull and Bones. Look at Redfall. Look at Star Wars Outlaws. We are watching a slow-motion car crash that never ends. The biggest companies in the world, Ubisoft, Warner Bros., EA, Microsoft, they are spending GDP levels of money to produce products that are objectively worse than what they were making 10 years ago. You buy a game today for $70 or maybe $100 if you are foolish enough to buy the Ultimate Edition. And what do you get? You get a stuttering, unoptimized, buggy mess. You get a story that feels like it was written by a committee of people who have never read a book. You get a user interface designed to sell you battle passes rather than help you play. Why is this happening? Why does a game that costs $200 million to make feel emptier than an indie game made by 3 guys in a garage? The answer isn't just lazy developers. It is much darker than that. It is a systemic collapse of the entire industry model. We are living through the bursting of the AAA bubble. Today, we are going to perform an autopsy on the modern blockbuster. We are going to dig into the finances, the psychology, and the corporate rot to find out why the video game industry is financially, creatively, and morally bankrupt. Chapter 1. The Money Pit. The Inflation of Mediocrity. To understand why games suck now, you have to follow the money. And specifically, you have to look at how risk works in the boardroom. Back in the day, let's say the PlayStation 2 era, making a blockbuster game was expensive, but it was manageable. You could make a massive hit like Devil May Cry or Metal Gear Solid for maybe $10 to $15 million. If the game flopped, it hurt. You might have to cancel the sequel, but the studio didn't close. The lights stayed on. Fast forward to today. The budget for Spider-Man 2 on the PS5 was leaked. It cost over $300 million. That is not marketing. That is just development. $300 million. When you spend that much money, the math changes. The game cannot just be good. It cannot just be a hit. It has to be a cultural phenomenon. It has to sell 10 million copies in the first month just to break even. This creates a culture of absolute terror. The executives are terrified. The shareholders are terrified. Because if they take a risk, if they try something new and it fails, the whole company goes under. So what do? They stop taking risks. They stop being creative. They look at what is already making money, usually Fortnite or Call of Duty, and they scream at their developers, "Make me one of those." This is why every game feels the same. They are too expensive to be unique. They cannot afford to alienate a single customer, so they try to make a product that appeals to everyone, and they end up making a product that appeals to no one. They are trying to sell a steak to a vegan. It just doesn't work. Chapter 2, the brain drain. Where did all the talent go? There is another factor that nobody talks about. The talent is gone. If you look at the credits of your favorite games from 15 years ago, look at the names of the directors, the lead writers, the senior level designers. Now look at where those people are today. They aren't at Ubisoft. They aren't at Blizzard. They aren't at BioWare. They left. They got tired of the corporate nonsense. They got tired of being told to monetize their art. They got tired of the crunch culture, so they quit. They took their 20 years of experience and they started small indie studios. So who is left making the massive AAA games? It is largely junior developers. It is fresh graduates who are talented, sure, but they don't have the experience to manage a project of this scale. They are being led by middle managers who prioritize spreadsheets over gameplay. We are seeing a phenomenon called the juniorification of the industry. You have teams of 500 people, but nobody knows who is actually steering the ship. This is why you see games with terrible pacing, broken mechanics, and disjointed stories. It is because the people who knew how to fix those problems left the building 5 years ago. Chapter 3, the obsession with photorealism. Now let's talk about the technology, because this is a trap that the industry set for itself. Somewhere along the line, the executives decided that better graphics equals better game. They started chasing photorealism. They wanted every pore on a character's face to be visible. They wanted the puddles to reflect light perfectly with ray tracing. But here's the problem. Photorealism is exponentially expensive. Making a character look real takes 10 times the effort of making a stylized character. It takes massive teams of artists, 3D scanners, and motion capture actors. And what does it add to the fun? Nothing. Look at a game like Nintendo's Zelda, or an indie hit like Lethal Company, or BattleBit Remastered. These games look simple, but they are fun. They prioritized gameplay mechanics over graphical fidelity. The AAA industry is spending 70% of its budget on graphics and 10% on writing and gameplay. They are giving you a shiny, beautiful box, but when you open it, there is nothing inside. They are so obsessed with making the game look next-gen that they forgot to make it play like a game. And the cost of this graphical obsession? Performance. Because they push the fidelity so high, the games run like garbage. They rely on DLSS and FSR to fake the resolution because they didn't have the time or the budget to optimize the code. Chapter 4, the design by committee. This leads us to the beige problem, the problem of mass appeal. When you have a budget of $200 million, you need to sell the game to everyone. You need the hardcore gamer, the casual dad, the kid on the iPad, and the grandma. You need the global market. You need China, you need Europe, you need America. So you sand off the edges. You remove anything that might be too difficult. You remove anything too controversial. You remove anything too complex. Have you played a modern Ubisoft game recently? Or a modern Sony blockbuster? The game treats you like an idiot. The characters won't stop talking. They solve the puzzles for you before you even enter the room. There is yellow paint on every ledge telling you exactly where to jump. There is a dotted line on the floor showing you exactly where to walk. Why? Because the data analysts told them that if a player gets stuck for more than 30 seconds, they might quit. And if they quit, they won't buy the skins in the shop. So they design the game to play itself. The result is a product that is perfectly polished, visually stunning, and completely soulless. It is the video game equivalent of airport food. It is edible, it is expensive, it is safe, but it has no flavor. Compare this to the success of Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3. Those games are hard, they are complex, they don't hold your hand, and they sold millions. Why? Because gamers want to be respected. We want to use our brains. The AAA industry has forgotten that friction is what makes a game fun. Without the challenge, without the risk of failure, victory feels empty. Chapter 5, the monetization infection. And then we have the infection, the monetization, the microtransactions. We used to buy a game, and we owned the game. Now the $70 price tag is just the entry fee. It is a cover charge to get into the casino. The game design itself is being warped to sell you things. Have you noticed how grinding in games has gotten worse? Have you noticed how leveling up takes longer? That isn't an accident. They make the game intentionally boring, intentionally slow, so that you are tempted to buy the XP booster or the time saver pack. They create the problem, and then they sell you the solution. It is racketeering. Look at the user interface of modern games like Call of Duty. The store button is always the brightest, biggest button on the menu. The game exists to serve the store. The gameplay is just a Trojan horse to get your wallet into the ecosystem. And they aren't even hiding it anymore. Look at single-player games. Dragon's Dogma 2, launching with microtransactions for fast travel items. Assassin's Creed selling armor sets for $20. These are full-priced games. The executives view players as payers. They call us whales. They have meetings about recurrent consumer spending. They don't talk about fun. They talk about engagement. And those are two very different things. Engagement just means you are logged in. It doesn't mean you are happy. Chapter 6, the live service graveyard. This greed led to the obsession with live service. Every publisher wants their own Fortnite. They want a game that prints money for 10 years. So they force their studios that specialize in single-player stories, to make multiplayer live service shooters. Look at what happened to Arcane. They made Dishonored and Prey, amazing, immersive simulations. And then Bethesda forced them to make Redfall. a looter shooter with battle passes. And it destroyed the studio. Look at Rocksteady, the masters of the Batman Arkham series. They spent almost a decade making Suicide Squad, a game where you shoot purple blobs to get plus 5% damage on your gun. It is a tragedy. We are losing our best creative teams because the executives are chasing a trend that is already dead. The market can only support maybe 3 or 4 massive live service games. Everyone plays Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, and maybe Call of Duty. There is no room for your generic hero shooter, but they keep trying, and they keep burning hundreds of millions of dollars in the process. Chapter 7. The Reviewer Industrial Complex. Now you might be asking, why didn't the reviews warn us? Why did Starfield get 9s and 10s before launch, only for players to realize it was boring a week later? This is the access media problem. The big review sites depend on the publishers for early access. They need the game codes 2 weeks early so they can have their review ready for launch day. If they give the game a bad score, or if they are too critical, the publisher might blacklist them. No more early codes, no more exclusive interviews, so consciously or subconsciously, the scores are inflated. A 7 out of 10 game gets a 9. A broken game gets a mostly positive, with a note saying, "I'm sure they will patch it." The critics are disconnected from the consumers. They didn't pay $70 for the game. They got it for free. They didn't have to play on a mid-range PC. They played on a high-end rig provided by the studio. This is why the user score on Metacritic is often so different from the critic score. The critics are reviewing the product. The users are reviewing the value. And the value proposition of modern AAA gaming is terrible. Chapter 8. The Bubble Bursts. But here is the good news. And yes, there is good news. The bubble is bursting. We are seeing something in 2024 and 2025 that the suits didn't predict. The audience is saying no. Suicide Squad didn't just fail, it humiliated Warner Bros. Ubisoft has seen its stock price plummet to historic lows. The safe bets aren't safe anymore. Remakes are flopping. Sequels are underperforming. Why? Because we have run out of time and money. The economy is tough. People don't have $70 to throw away on a half-baked live service game that will be shut down in 6 months. We are becoming picky, we are becoming cynical, and this is panicking the industry. We are seeing thousands of layoffs. Studios are closing left and right. The headlines are depressing, but I am going to tell you something controversial. This crash needs to happen. The forest is overgrown. The rot has set in deep. We need a fire to clear it out. We need these massive, bloated, $200 million failures to bankrupt these bad ideas so that something better can grow in their place. Chapter 9. The Indie Revolution. While the giants are dying, the little guys are thriving. The best games I have played in the last 2 years didn't come from EA or Activision. They came from small teams. Look at Palworld, a game made by a chaotic group of amateurs that embarrassed the Pokemon franchise. Look at Manor Lords, one guy, one developer, and it was the most wish-listed game on Steam. The tools to make games are getting better. Unreal Engine 5, Godot, Blender. You don't need $200 million to make a masterpiece anymore. You need a vision. You need passion. We are seeing a shift. The future of gaming isn't in the massive, photorealistic blockbusters. It is in the weird, stylized, creative AA and indie space. It is in the games that aren't afraid to be games. Conclusion. So what does this mean for you, the gamer? It means you have the power. The only reason these companies keep making garbage is because we keep buying it. We keep pre-ordering based on a CGI trailer. We keep buying the Battle Pass because of FOMO. We have to stop. If you are tired of broken launches, stop pre-ordering. If you are tired of microtransactions, don't buy the skins. If you are tired of boring sequels, go buy an indie game instead. The era of the mega game is dying. The model is unsustainable. You cannot spend 5 years and $250 million on a single dice roll. The crash is coming, and frankly, I am grabbing some popcorn because maybe, just maybe, when the smoke clears, we can go back to making games that are actually fun.